welcome back to the Wisdom Workshop Library. My name is Sean Waters, and today I'm going to be talking about MIchael Bungay Stanier's book, The Coaching Habits: Say Less, Ask More, and Change the Way You Lead Forever. I thought this book was really valuable in not only how it was written, really simple and concise, but also in the main takeaways that I'm going to be going over. If you like books but are allergic to reading, subscribe and hopefully you enjoy this. First big lesson from this book is right in the subtitle, that we should practice saying less and asking more. This means that we should tame the advice monster. We have a tendency to jump in and give advice, to fix, to solve, oftentimes when that's not what the situation is calling for, and also it makes it kind of disempowering to the people we're talking to, as we're not here to fix or correct or solve. We're here to listen and ask better questions. This gets to the point of the title of this YouTube video. I've had a very negative connotation with coaching ever since there's been a rise of predatory coaching trainings that make a lot of money, training coaches to be able to offer certain kinds of advice to certain people, or at least that's how I perceive it. I have kind of a bad taste in my mouth about coaching. There's that meme that was going around that was like, Lord save me from the 24-year-old life coach. I kind of bought into that narrative that life coaching was kind of smarmy and scammy, where people were giving advice in places they shouldn't be giving advice, or opening up cans of worms that they had no expertise to put the worms back in, or to figure out which of those worms should actually go in the garden and which go in the trash can. This book suggests that when we coach someone, it's less about giving them advice about what we would do, give them an action plan or a set of plays that they might run in the way we think about like an academic coach that prescribes certain activities or exercises, and more about the coach as a kind of Socratic conversation partner that shows up to the table to get curious about where another person is, and then offers a series of questions that helps them get to some insight that unlocks their own potential. So in this framework, coaching is not about helping, solving, fixing, providing, giving advice. It's about questioning, listening, and showing up with care and concern for the other human being. Takeaway number 2 is also in the title. It's the coaching habit. There's a short 14-page chapter in here that distills a lot of the great science about habit formation. We're just going to go over the brief basics of it right now. Number 1, you want to have specific and small tangible goals. So your habits, if it's difficult for you to do this habit change every day, you've picked too big of a habit change. You want that habit to be specific and small enough to be able to do every day, to be able to build momentum. Secondly, alongside of that, it helps if you have a big vow going with that habit change. So if you're making some big commitment that you're doing this habit so that you can show up better for your daughter, or so that you can extend the values and mission of the organization you're working for, that big vow, or if you have a bodhisattva vow to alleviate the unnecessary suffering of all sentient beings, that big vow is going to help you have the energy to have the real small, specific changes that you're making. So small and specific change coupled with big vow makes a really powerful combination. One last thing he talks about is these, he calls them triggers. I'm not sure that's the best word for it, but you link them. It's when this happens, I will. So that the habits aren't just in isolation. You're targeting, when I feel like I should give someone advice, I'm going to notice that and consider asking a question instead. Another example I heard is about, in a different context, is about practicing mindfulness. When I brush my teeth, I will practice observing the thoughts and emotions that arise without judgment and bring my attention back to the teeth brushing. So that you're not just practicing more mindfulness, you're linking, when this happens, I will do this thing. It's a nice tutorial on how to build a habit from the Coaching Habit book. And the third most valuable thing from this book is his 7 essential questions. They provide a template for any kind of coaching conversation. And when you see and hear these questions, it really shows you how many different situations this could be applied to, not just formal coaching where it's like, okay, this is my coaching call. It's actually the kinds of conversations we might have with other people who we care to listen to and see if we can be of assistance to. Question number 1 is what he calls the kickstart question. This is, what's on your mind? Question number 2, the AWE question. And what else? So what else is on your mind? Question number 3, the focus question. What are the real challenges here for you? So how can we focus our time together? What's the real challenge here? Question number 4, the foundation question. What do you want? What do you want out of this? Question number 5, the lazy question. How can I help? Notice out of the 7 questions, it's not until question 5 that we get to the how can I help question, which is still directed at the person we're talking to. We are not offering advice. We're asking questions to understand where someone is actually coming from in their situations, in their people, their relationships to people, their projects, what they're working on, and the patterns that they have, their patterns that are coming up and how they come to a situation. So we're learning more about where someone is coming from before we even get close to asking this question, how can I help? Question number 6 out of 7 is the strategic question. If I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? Or if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? So if you are going to do this thing as a way of moving forward past the challenges and getting what you want in this particular context where you are, what are you saying no to? On the notion that having a clear, defined, that the clear yes that we're going for necessitates some boundaries saying no. And question 7, my favorite as an educator, is the learning question. What was most useful to you in this conversation? It's a good question because it's a loaded question. It implies that something was useful. So it starts you off on you're loading the deck in your favor by saying that some part of this was useful, but it also makes people ask a pragmatic question themselves and recall, which is where learning happens. What of our conversation was most useful to me? What might I want to use in the future or now? From Michael Bungay Stanier's The Coaching Habit. And I could, in light of this book, ask you, what was most useful to you from this YouTube video? What might you like to use in the future? Would you like to use this book in the future? If you're interested in that coaching conversation or something about it, put a comment down below, or just say, hey, all right, link and socials is down in the doobly-doos. Okay, bye now. Hope this helped.